Hey everybody, Dr. Rick here. Hope everybody is ready to move into the weekend on a good note. Remember what I always say, no matter where you're at, no matter what you're going through, if you're still breathing, you're still in the fight. Being alive is a blessing no matter where you're at and what you're going through. Tomorrow can be so much different than whatever you're facing right now, but you've got to have the strength and the fortitude buried deep inside to push through. Life is about perseverance and persistence. On that note, I'm gonna move into what I want to talk to you about. I'll try to do this as quickly as I possibly can. Just want to kind of be to myself for most of my ride home. But first and foremost, I want to remind you that we at the Odyssey Project have a number of programs going on, but we have really been focusing on the Black Man Lead Rite of Passage Initiative and Restoring Ghetto's Forgotten Daughters. The reason we're focusing so much on Black Man Lead is because we see the trajectory of where we're going as a race of people and how not properly socializing and preparing and underwriting our men, what path that is putting us on. These boys are growing up to become the wives and boyfriends of our daughters, the protectors of our communities. And we don't see that right now because we have failed them in preparing them and providing them with modeling of manhood. We're providing them with a defined and definitive idea of what being a man, and specifically a black man, is. There's so many different perspectives, so many different looks. You got them believing that they can define their manhood through their sexual prowess. You got them thinking they can define their manhood through their attractiveness. You got them thinking they can define their manhood by their bank accounts. And why none of those things are bad, none of them constitute manhood. Yes, you need to be able to sustain anything that you take upon, that you take on. You need to be a source to anything that you create and anything that you assume. You are to be the source of it. So yes, you need to be a provider, but being a provider is so much more than just money. You need to provide advice, leadership, protection, a covering, so much more than just money. And we define all of that. We lay it out. We model it. We show vulnerability. We show that we're human. We give them permission to be human. We give them a space to express. We teach them how to express. We teach them how to cope. But we challenge them much in the same way that other rite of passage programs for Jews and other children work. Other races work. And we are asking you to support the work we're doing because this needs to be a national program, a universal rite of passage where it's clear to every black male in this country what's expected of them, why they're so important to the black race, why they're so important to the community, why they're so important in the home, despite being told they don't belong, despite being told they're not enough, despite being told they're never going to amount to anything, despite being blamed for everything. They need to understand that without them, we don't have a chance. And we need to train them and prepare them so that we do have a generation in the future that's capable of actually getting us to where we talk about being. And that's how it's going to happen. It's not going to happen by osmosis. It's not going to happen by traveling lectures. It's not going to happen by how many books you write. I can write all the books in the world. I've written so many, and I think I've done a good job. I've put it out there. I've talked about solutions. I've created blueprints. I've done all of that. But at the end of the day, you still have to understand that the work has to be done. So again, we're asking for the support. We are in a situation right now where I get calls and emails daily about what's going on in the sense of some young black male either harming someone or being harmed or being killed, and how it's playing out. You know, I've got clients who have sons they're concerned about. I have clients who are sons of mothers and fathers who are concerned about them. And there is work to be done. We need to become aware. We cannot sit up and consistently complain about where we are and what's going on and how we feel about something if we're not actively engaged in creating a solution to it. One thing that when growing up that my grandfather did early on in life is when I would come to him talking about something was wrong, complaining, I already knew what the first question was going to be. The first question was going to be, okay, what have you done about it? What are you doing about it? What have you tried? In other words, my first response couldn't be to complain. My first response couldn't be to whine. My first response couldn't be, I don't know what to do. My first response had to be, what am I going to do about it? What am I going to try? What can I do? And then I take it to him and say, look, I've tried this, and this. Tell me what I'm missing. Tell me what I need to do. Point me in the right direction. And it taught me to go to work on my problems. It taught me to look for solutions. I don't see problems. I see an opportunity to solve something. And that's what I do. That's what I've been trying to do. That's what I'm trying to get all of us to do. We can sit here and complain until we are blue in the face, or in our case, white in the face, or whatever else will be the contrast to our natural complexion. But what I can tell you is this, that until we start to take decisive, intentional, and deliberate action, we're not going to get results. We can talk about it all day. We can talk about all the numbers of young black males who are being killed, who are killing. We can talk about the violent, emotionally unstable black males who are harming black women. We can talk about that. It's absolutely horrible. It's absolutely unacceptable. But if we don't prepare them, that's what we create. The number one principle on the 11 principles of manhood in Black Men Lead is a black man never brings harm to a black female, regardless of her age. Number one rule. But we can say it all the time, but if we don't have the boys to teach it to, if we don't have the resources to bring them in, if we don't have people trying to teach it, if we don't have people in every community teaching that same principle, if it doesn't become simply an expectation and a demand, if we don't start applying consequences to the actions, if we don't start having men who will respond on behalf of our communities, we're going to have problems that are going to be exacerbated as we move forward. We haven't seen the worst. I'm pretty sure 10 years ago when we were looking at what's, I'm pretty sure in the 90s when we had all the gang stuff going on in New York, Chicago, Los Angeles, and in Oakland, and in the South as well, when we had all that gang activity going on, when there were gang wars going on between Bloods and Crips, I'm pretty sure we were saying at that time, oh my God, it can't get no worse today. It's gotten worse. Way worse. We got situations now where there was beef between two rival boys, and the boys from one rival group went and shot up the girlfriend's car of another rival group while she had friends, and one of the friends had a baby in it. Killed two of the girls. 3 girls were in there, one had a baby. Luckily the girl with the baby didn't get died, but she got shot. The other two died. I think this was in Memphis. This is what we're dealing with. And when you talk about it, you're talking about, first of all, an insensitivity to violence. I told you I've done tons and tons of research on adolescent, African-American adolescent and young adult male violence. I can tell you what causes it. I can tell you how to predict it. Literally. I can tell you by any kid I interview, I can tell you how close they are to being violent. I can also tell you how to mitigate it. I can tell you how to stop. I can tell you how, even after a kid has become irate and enraged, how to stop the violence. Can't necessarily mitigate the anger, but you can stop the violence. We know the answers. But you're going to need men who are active. You're going to need men who are willing to teach. You're going to need the resources to teach. You're going to need access to the kids. You're going to have some men who are literally willing to get out there, because you're getting out there with kids who don't see you in the way you see yourself or the way your family sees you. They'll happily take your ass out. But if we don't get out there, they will take the community and destroy it. And the bottom line is, while some of us have become extremely upwardly mobile financially, in the financial and economic sense, and we don't have to be in the hood, we have to understand our connectivity to the hood. That's one of the problems. A lot of us got to the point where we didn't have to be there, and we blew it. We left. We flew. We ain't looked back, ain't going back, ain't thinking back, ain't trying to deal with nothing. Pretend we were never there. The problem is we're connected because we are a whole. And if the more divided we become, the more vulnerable we become. Your money will not protect you. It protected as much as OJ tried to integrate. And as much money as he had and as much fame as he had the dream team. And he used his money and he won the first round. He got on their radar. And by then he didn't have no backing, nobody black was feeling him. And everything like that. But what I'm trying to get you to understand, there is a benefit in being connected to your people no matter what your socioeconomic status is. That's the one thing they've tried to divide us along the lines of economics. They've tried to divide us along the lines of class. They've tried to divide us along the lines of color and shade of complexion. They've tried to divide us along the lines of educational achievement, academic achievement. And the thing is, the more schismatic we are as a race, the more divided we are, the less impactful we are, the less we are. That's why it's so hard to get things done. We can't pull together and make something happen. I talked to you yesterday about what's going on with BlackRock and other major money players and financial investors and financial group buying up all affordable housing. What does that do? That stop all entry-level first-time buyer homes, where families start the process of building wealth, building equity in something. And it's hard to not be to not have that, to build equity, when you are forced to live in a situation where you're channeling out $1,500, $1,800, $2,000 a month on something that will never be yours, something you will never build equity in. None of that money will ever come back to you. That's what home ownership does. It allows you to pay for something that you absolutely need anyway, and over time build equity in it that you can leverage. That's what we're missing, and they're buying it up. But what's going to happen? Because we can't pull together, we will not pool our resources, we not come together and develop our own communities, buy up some of these properties that are being bought up by others. We're not going to do it, and we're going to end up having, because we are the most vulnerable, because we have the most people at or below the poverty line. We can talk all day long about ownership, but if the only homes that are available for purchase are 320, 330 and up, you know, and I'm talking Houston and other places maybe a little higher, but you know, the wages are somewhat commensurate. But this is what I'm saying. That was a point in time you could buy a 3-bedroom home, roughly around 1,600 square feet in Houston for $130,000, $140,000, brand new, built. Now, obviously, that's changed because the shortage in inventory has driven prices up. This is a buyer's market right now. I mean, a seller's market right now. Sellers are getting pretty much whatever they ask for, a plus, because there's nothing out there. So that same $140,000 house is probably around $200,000 right now. But at the same point in time, that's the entry mark. That's the market entry level right there. That's where people are coming in who are getting their first homes, who qualify right around that level. They can't get that home now. They're gonna have to rent, and they're gonna have to rent for more than they would be paying if they would have bought it. So they're gonna be spending more money getting nothing back. And the thing is, we could do something about it, but we won't, because we won't come together. We won't come together for programs. We won't come together for economic strategy. We won't come together to build agendas and protocols. None of that. And if we don't do it, if we continue to do it, as Dr. Claude Anderson has said, and that was the point in time he and I disagreed on it, when he was literally, he and his wife Joanne were reviewing my blueprint for Black empowerment. That was one point where we agreed. He was on the idea that we've already passed that point of no return, where we're going to always be at the bottom. And while I can see where he's coming from economically and mathematically, I am never one to believe that you're stuck anywhere. But you definitely are now in a situation where you're going to have to literally fight, scratch, and push, and be ready to go the distance and pass the torch to someone else in the next generation, because it probably won't happen in your lifetime. That's where we're at. As I've said before, we need men and women, especially men, who are willing to plant seeds that they may not live long enough to see come to fruition. That's what we need. We need people who aren't looking for a pat on the back, people who aren't looking for praise, people who literally want to see their people win and know that it may not happen until their grandchildren take hold of the torch. That's the reality of it. That's where we're at right now. We're so far behind that's the reality, that you may not get to experience or enjoy the work you're doing at the level that you can envision it at. And you got to be okay with that, or you'll never get there. If all you can see is what's right now, you'll become selfish and you'll just work for you. You'll just look for what you can get out of it now, and you won't set up the next generation. That's not how it's got to be done. So on that note, look, I'm gonna get ready to get out of here. Look, we're doing the work. We have so much more we want to do. We are ready to develop, to move into building and activating a strategy for what we're seeing in the housing market. But we're going to need some collective pull. We're going to need some collective push. But what we're asking right now is support the work we're doing right now with young black males. It has never been as imperative as it is right now that you do that. On that note, I'm going to get ready to get out of here. You guys have an